All right, Ellis Cinema back, another dish. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, puke. As you see on your screen, your dial, however you're choosing to join us today, I know the cast and crew appreciates you. Me, probably not so much. Why? Because I don't have a guest on today. So you know that means can't stand doing this show. But, you know, as I've told you before, there's films that come along that I know a lot of you that listen to the show, I would say about half of you that listen to the show, probably never heard of it. And that's where I come in, baby. So, as you see right there, Blackout. Blackout. So what is Blackout? A small-town artist, Charley, is a tortured man whose drinking binges blur with his sneaking suspicion that he might be I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say a monster. I'm not going to say what it really says. I'm just going to say he's a monster. Because, you know, especially if I'm by myself, there's going to be very little spoilers. I'll tell you a couple things that I like, a couple things to look for, and then we move on, babe. Charley distances himself from those he loves and sinks deeper into solitude as his flashes of memory of his grisly nighttime acts manifest themselves through his artwork. Listen, Larry Fessenden is, if you run in the circles that I run in, he is a treasure. You know, much like Roger Corman, who just passed away yesterday, R.I.P. Roger Corman. I don't, and I think a lot of people would say this, I don't know, and maybe I'm sure Larry Fessenden, writer-director of Blackout, would too. There's a lot of us that wouldn't be in the film game if it weren't for Roger Corman. Those are just the facts, you know. Guillermo del Toro. The list is too long for me to go into it, but coming off the heels of Roger Corman passing away, and this being a small film that I wanted to talk to you all about, I feel the two go hand in hand together, and I'm going to do some of my favorite Roger Corman films in the coming future, but in the coming weeks and months. You're just gonna have to wait for that, because I think I got about 5 shows coming up that you guys are really gonna enjoy. So anyway, Blackout. Let's get back to it. Who does Blackout star? Blackout is starring Alex Hurt, which is the son of, yes, that hurt. That hurt. Alex, prior to this, what I love about Alex is it reminds me of kind of like old school actor. Like, not only within the film, but you can't find him anywhere online either. Like, if you want to talk to him, you're going directly through his PR reps and everything. But Alex has been in Bonding, Mignon, New Amsterdam, which was a series, The Good Fight, also a series, Before the World Set on Fire, Billions. He's been around, and obviously son of that Hurt, son of William Hurt. You know, I'd like to get him on the show, and I promise you, Alex, I will not bring up your father at all. That's how I do. You know, kind of like when I had Cronenberg's son on. Didn't mention his dad. Why? Because we're not talking about him, god damn it. So, who else do we got in this film? I was so happy to see Addison Timlin show up. She is the beating heart in a very unsung horror film called Odd Thomas with rest in peace, Anton Yelchin. That still bums me out. I really loved Anton Yelchin, but Odd Thomas she was in and provides... Oh, man, she hits you in the feels with that one. And guess what? Does the exact same fucking thing in this one. So, Addison, like I said, has been in Odd Thomas, Derailed, Fallen, Stand Up Guys, recently American Horror Stories, but she was also in... Fessenden's 2019 piece called Depraved, which I will touch on that briefly. So for all of you that have seen Fessenden's Depraved, you need to see this film as well. And that's all I'm going to tell you. Because, come on now, if you know what Depraved's about, well, go on there. It was good to see also Rigo Garay in this. I'm sure I'm probably saying it wrong, but we talked about Rigo briefly when I had writer, director, and star from The Leech on here. And guess who Rigo played in The Leech? Rigo. But in this one, I gotta say, for someone who's relatively new, even though he's been on Law and Order, just like bit roles, Law and Order, Cut and Run, Chrome Catch, Blue Bloods, he's got a very patient and controlled approach with his acting, and it's not something that you see a lot with quite a few of the younger actors. Not that it doesn't exist, it's just, and it's not even these younger actors' faults. It's like sometimes I get kind of annoyed when we go after people like Timothy Shamalama Ding Dong or whoever, which initially I was just like, if we're using Timothy as an example, I was like, great, another white, high cheekboned fucking emo kid. And then, I don't believe in guilty pleasures, so if you impress me, and we call it a day. And Timothy managed to do that, but again, we're talking, 1 in a million, and people forget like how statistically or how the odds are stacked against you in terms of acting in a film, let alone headlining a film. But back to what I was about to say is I don't shit on some of these younger actors, because of their poor acting. I think acting is all about life experience for the most part. Not to say that there isn't nuances in there that you can't implement into your character or whatever, that you don't necessarily have to have lived X amount of years to perform it properly. However, if let's say for Rigo's role in Blackout, I thought he did a good job, but I think about someone whom they may have used instead, and I don't know that it would have turned out all that well, because you have to have experienced some pain. Gang, you have to experience some pain before you can really let loose with your acting, I would argue. But I mean, what the fuck do I know? We also got Barbara Crampton, who's in this, and Barbara Crampton is a horror fucking legend, Reanimator, From Beyond, what else? We Are Still Here, the Creep Show TV show. She was also Channel Zero, Dead Night, Tales of Halloween, We Are Still Here, I already said that, The Lords of Salem. You know what? I'm going to go Castle Freak. What else do we got? Puppet Master, Chopping Mall. Chopping Mall is so classic. Reanimator is obviously the best, though. One of the not only the best of hers, but arguably one of the best horror films of all the times. Lovecraft, baby. Who else was in here? Oh, that can't be. Is that right? I don't know. Because one of my favorite parts of it, but why are they showing the guy from Entourage on the IMDb page? That's why I hate IMDb. Anyway, Motell Jin Foster, who I believe played the black dude, the voice of reason in this film, who's also so fucking good in terms of adding another emotional layer to this film. Something you got to know about Fessenden, and he, besides the fact that, he does very small DIY independent horror films, his attention to characters, I think, is equal to, if not more so, than the horror elements. And you could make the argument that it's no different than this one. But I thought Motell really kind of, like The Rug and Big Lebowski, tied the room together. Did it not? Did it not? Anyway, who else do we got? I wanted to talk about Will Bates, who did the score for Blackout. Will Bates has done Immaculate, Dumb Money, Mayfair Witches, I Origins, Hamana, Devil in Ohio. Oh, he also did Far Cry 6. That's cool. But again, adding another very eerie but beating hot to the score. The look of this film, we We're graced with Collin Brazie doing the cinematography on this, and I thought it looked great. I think one of my favorite things that is happening more and more with independent films these days is the look of them. Clearly, like, there was a decade there where a lot of independent films, you could tell people, were either getting practice on their phones and then, trying to implement that sort of thing into, say, their short film or feature film or whatever. And I'm here to tell you, it showed. It showed. But I think now, because, not to sound top 40 hits, making the top 40 hits here, we got Sean, but, like, I just think people are getting better now that they've had a phone in their hand since birth, and that phone has a camera on it that's better than it was the year before, and certainly better than it was 10 years before. And I think people are finally starting to get hip to composition of shots as opposed to, I'm just going to let the fucking camera roll. And for all you aspiring filmmakers out there, it's fine to let the camera roll, context pending, I just talked to Francis Galuppi, and we were talking, yes, not Galuppi, Galuppi. That asshole made me wait an hour before he told me his real name. I'm just kidding, Francis, if you're listening to this. But I felt so stupid. So what do we do when we feel stupid? We lash out because I'm a toxic male, piece of shit, piece of garbage. It's not Francis's fault at all. I probably should have done my homework, but I get scared doing my homework. I don't want to do that. Well, that whole interview came together just fucking shooting from the hip, came out of nowhere, and kind of had a 24-hour turnaround on watching the film and doing research on it. But I always get nervous about doing research before the film, of course, because, as you guys all know, I don't watch fucking trailers, but definitely after the film as well, I get a little nervous if I know that I'm going to get on the mic, because I don't necessarily want to be saying shit that people have already said. So that's just what happened with the Francis interview, is I got some base points that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't really. And until this show gives me dental, gang, until then this show cleans up my teeth, kind of tough getting all fired up about doing some fucking research for fucking, people that don't give a shit. Well, calm down, Sean. Anyway, where was I at? I think Collin Brazie, made this film look so fucking... Oh, I know what I was talking about. It's just people getting used to... Not that Collin's one of these people, but it's actually just been refreshing with a lot of the indie films that I've seen over the last couple years, because it finally starts to... It's starting to feel like people are knowing what they're doing, if we're excluding any tried and true cinematographers out there, but a lot of like first time cinematographers. And not that Collin is one, but I think his credits only go back a decade or so, which in the I guess two decades, but in the context of everything, like in film, like, I don't know, 20 years may be a lot to me, may not be a lot to someone else. But anyway, Larry Fessenden, my boy, writer, director, producer of House of the Devil, did Wendigo, he was in Stakeland. I feel like we just include him in because everybody loves him. Like I said, Roger Corman type stuff. Oh, I didn't know he did the radio voice in Killer of Flower Moon. That's amazing. But he's basically like, when you watch a film, he is such a character actor that you always do. Oh, he's that guy. Like I would say he embodies, quote unquote, that guy when you see him on screen. What else was he in? Oh, The Dead Don't Die. Yep, that's right. He was in that. Fucking love The Dead Don't Die. Criminally underrated Jim Jarmusch film, but just so many credits under his belt. The Stakelander, which I believe is Stakeland 2, arguably one of my favorite vampire films of all time. Ooh, The Mind's Eye, which we don't talk about. We Are Still Here. Night of the Wolf. So much good shit on his Where We Are What We Are. Oh, man. Oh, he's only playing an extra bit. Anyway, Larry Fessenden, much like Roger Corman, God. He's a god. If you're in the horror crowd, just go to his IMDb and look at his picture. It's at least For me, you should be like Shocker. Sean likes him. Yeah, I fucking do. I love people like that. He's my type of people. So I'm going to be reading a little bit from the Roger Ebert review on Blackout, because as I've said before, sometimes people have a knack to say things better than me. So, because I'm not very good at this. I'm terrible at this. Unless I have time, the only time I am average at this show, I'm not even going to say good. The only time that I'm average at this show is if I'm doing an interview with a writer, director, actor, actress, cinematographer, whatever, and I have like 3 days to prepare. Then the show's okay. The show's worthwhile. But times like these, I want you, I don't give a shit if you listen to the show. I just want you to see the post and go, oh, Blackout, what's that? Well, Sean says we should watch it, so we should fucking watch it. Anyway, the Roger Ebert review. If actors often make for compelling directors, then why not character actors? Larry Fessenden is a great, quote-unquote, that guy character actor. What did I say? That guy. See, I'm reading this for the first time. I have no idea what Simon Abrams is going to say about Blackout, but I trust RogerEbert.com so much. At least, for the most part, it falls in line with my views and how I felt about a particular picture. Anyway, is a great that guy character actor, and his work stands out in a range of genre movies that are mostly horror. Fessenden's also the producer and sometimes writer-director behind Glass Eye Pic's rich catalog of American indie horror movies. Fessenden's Blackout, a blank psychodrama, showcases his usual attention to performance and character-driven details. That compliment may seem surprising, given that we're talking about a low-budget monster movie where the lead and a few supporting cast members deliver amateurish performances. I disagree. I thought their performances were above amateurish. Sorry, Simon, but that's just how I feel. Everybody's character in a Larry Fessenden movie with their own quirks, limitations, and entanglements. We only get to see so much of that in Blackout, an imperfect but often worthwhile adaptation of Fessenden's own audio drama of Glass Eye's Tales from Beyond the Pale, which is a radio drama style of horror films. I love that. You know what? I should fucking check that out. But as you know, your boy listens to, I'm so media fucking driven across the board. Books, movies, music, art. I think I love audio plays. Audio books are fine. I just lost a bunch of fans. I didn't say that they were bad. You remember, things are allowed to be fine, gang. Why does everything need to be fucking awesome or fucking terrible and nothing in between? Shut up. Anyway, audiobooks are fine, but I really love audio plays. I really do, especially if we get some good sound effects in there and shit. Anyway, the audio play version of Blackout was a B-movie-sized sketch about Charley, a desperate loner who tries to get his affairs in order before he reluctantly transforms into a blank. Damn it. I think transforms good. Well, I mean, it could be a host of monsters, couldn't it? You'll just have to wait and see. But I think actually the cover or poster art for all of this pretty much gives it away. But it's fine. I'm just going to keep saying blank. And now the movie Blank Man just popped in my head. Damon Wayans, Blank Man. I have problems, gang. There's something wrong with my brain. Anyway, a desperate loner who tries to get his affairs in order before he reluctantly transforms into a blank. The movie adaptation has more plot, some of which is too generic to be necessary. Yeah, kind of. But whatever happened, why do we always need cutting-edge filmmaking? Cutting-edge storytelling? Why? Stories, normal story tropes, generic story tropes are there for a reason. And given the subject matter of this, I certainly wouldn't poo-poo or talk negatively about, which is, and again, it could just be my interpretation of it, but to say too generic to be necessary, I don't know. I feel like not everything needs to be smash cuts and fucking... There's a time and a place for that. But for this, since to me it's 70% drama, 30% horror, you know, give or take on those numbers a little bit, I want the camera to run long. I want some of the scenes to run a little long so that there's more fucking character building. That means more to me, gang. And now there's a time and a place for it. Not always. You know, you may hear me on the next show or a month from now bitching about it. But, you know, there's a time and a place. But to say too generic to be necessary, that's kind of a dick move. The new Blackout also features several standout moments and a Edgar Allan, a Poe-like air of melancholy dread that Fessenden fans are probably already familiar with. Yes, we are, but we don't mind it. Because... the way I look at this film, it's about a half man, half monster, and it's all heart, baby. I know that sounds like a top 40 headline, but fuck you. At least I didn't go, oh, it's Tarantino-esque. Yeah, anyway, Fessendens are probably already familiar with the melancholy and dread tone. Blackout is nothing new or even essential. I disagree. I think it is essential. I think it is great for aspiring filmmakers to see this movie. I really do. You know, gun to my head, Simon from Roger. I don't know why I said that, all condescending. Simon, I'm sure you're probably a good guy. I apologize. But what would you rather watch, Blackout or Wolf with Jack Nicholson? One has money, one doesn't. I'm telling you, I'm picking Blackout every single fucking time. So to call it even essential, so movies just shouldn't be made because they don't fit your particular criteria of interest, that's why I always watch movies that I would normally, that, you know, I'm more of a action horror drama guy, you know, but I push myself, you know. Is there a good time to watch, Wim Wenders' Perfect Days? No. But sometimes you just got to push play, which, by the way, Perfect Days was an amazing film. If you guys haven't seen it, the acting, top fucking notch. And I always think a film where virtually nothing happens and yet feels the way that did film, that's a fucking accomplishment. Anyway, Blackout trails after doomed Charley Barrett, played by Alex Hurt, a well-liked drunk who also happens to be a Charley knows he's oh man, this is full of spoilers. Charley knows he's a blank and wants to kill himself before he can kill more in its shit. Well, let's just let it ride. You know what? If you've stuck through it this far, Blackout trails after doomed Charley Barrett, a well-liked drunk who also happens to be a werewolf. Charley knows he's a lycanthrope and wants to kill himself before he can kill more innocent bystanders. Charley wanders around the exurban town of Talbot Falls. Get it, Talbot. What was Lon Chaney's name when he played the werewolf? Lawrence Talbot? I love Larry Fessenden. Talbot falls in a cold sweat, touching base with a number of people that he wants to square up with. Mostly people he either wants to avoid or doesn't want to get into a deep conversation with. Like nosy but well-meaning Pastor Francis, played by John Speredakos, from whom Charley bums a ride. Or the crotchety real estate developer Jack Hammond, played by Marshall Bell, with whom Charley keeps butting heads with. There's also Sharon Hammond, played by Addison Timlin. Oh, I love Addison so much. Charley's worried ex and Jack's estranged daughter. She sees other people, expertly cast Joe Swanberg. Meanwhile, the police search for whoever's responsible for a series of random murders. Civic-minded cop Alice, played by Ella Ray Peck, and her skeptical partner Louis, Joseph Castillo-Midyett. By the way, those two cops, perfect. I love how everything is very downplayed. Fucking love it. Skeptical partner Louis spots some animal fur at one of the crime scenes. Uh-oh. Then they chat about the German concept of Umwelt, or a self-centered world, Umwelt, where everybody is limited by their own individual perspective. See? We got some deepness going on here. We ain't just talking about Moida. You hear me, gang? We're not just talking about Moida. There's hot to this story. This standout conversation explains some things about the plot of Blackout, as well as Fessenden's priorities as a filmmaker. What does Simon say? I wish there was a lot more of this sort of dorm room philosophizing in Blackout. I should have my throat cut. Charley's meandering trajectory is sometimes frustrating, though not because of his aimlessness. If anything, Blackout doesn't ramble far enough into the lo-fi psychedelia and macabre lyricism that Fessenden excels at, because Charley does not have productive conversations, sometimes even with the people whose company he enjoys. I disagree. Like Miguel Rigo, played by Rigo Garay. I thought the conversations with Miguel were great. In fact, I felt that's where we started to build meaning relationships with that, or with Charley. Anyway, like Miguel, a family man who's also falsely accused by Jack of Charley's crimes. Or Earl, played by Motell Jim Foster, a chatty loner who makes silver bullets for Charley, which I just love. Like, I wish I had a friend like that. Maybe I'm confessing too much, but I wish I had a friend like that. Hey, I need you to make some silver bullets. No fucking questions asked. I do not have a friend like that. They would ask why, and ultimately, even if I gave them a good reason why, they still wouldn't fucking make them for me. Anyway, Earl's a chatty loner who makes silver bullets for Charley at his request. Fessenden's pointed dialogue doesn't always sound right coming out of the actors' mouths, but it provides a welcome pretext for the movie's best, largely conversation-driven scenes. I think more often than not it works. I really do, Simon. I do. If anything, Blackout is weakest when it's most conventional, dutiful trailing after Charley as the body count increases. No, I don't agree with that, so I'm not going to continue reading. I don't agree with that. This I don't mind. You can see Fessenden's obvious affection for bit players like platitude-slinging Pastor Francis or even tough-talking barfly Bob, played by Kevin Corrigan, who I tried to get on the show before I watched this, and he was probably insulted that I asked him to come on the show, as he is not in it very long. But I like Kevin Corrigan, so I asked him to come on. The latter, who wants to fight underpaid Mexican migrant workers and paraphrases Winston Churchill when he's 3 sheets to the wind, all the time in this, Kevin does that. These guys also represent Talbot Falls, an American every town named after Lon Chaney Jr.'s beloved Universal monster. If there's anything essential missing from Blackout, it's more Umwelt. Well, maybe. The movie's atmospheric opening scene provides a perfect example. A young couple played by who cares. You can see why Fessenden likes these and other supporting characters, even if his reasons don't always translate smoothly into a creature feature. I don't want it to translate smoothly to a creature feature all the time. I don't. Sometimes I want it to feel disjointed. Sometimes I want it to feel disjointed, like what's going on in Charley's mind, where it feels like a fucking fever dream. He's tripping balls at times. Like, is this really fucking happening to me? And guess what? That's not comfortable. That's not seamless. That's not smooth. And I don't want it to be. Yeah. His monster looks and sounds good, but it's not really special as Fessenden's movies often are. I disagree. If anything, Blackout is cursed by its director's well-earned reputation for going farther afield and with more poetic whimsy than most. Fessenden's latest has a lot to recommend it, but not enough to fully satisfy. I disagree. I just think you need to be a horror fan to what I was about to say was about to be fucking stupid. I was going to say you need to be a horror fan to fully appreciate that. No, we just all have different views, gang, and I thought that this one was worth every second of my time. Like, people forget, like, especially if you want to touch upon Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, like, think about story-wise how those films were, pretty fucking basic in terms of act 1, act 2, act 3, how we're doing. Like, it's pretty fucking basic. And I don't know why all the time we ask for more just because it's in 24. And here's the thing. I'm a hypocrite just as much as anyone else. There may be a movie where I'm just like, oh, I wanted more. I know for a fact I've said that on the show before, but it's context pending. Like, you have to take all the traits about a movie like this. It's DIY, it's indie, it's small, blah, blah, blah. And you have to take that into consideration before you compare it to like a big budget film, which is what I think a lot of critics fall victim to. Not all of them, but a lot of them, Let's read some of what the critics have to say about it. Robert from the LA Times says the idiosyncratic earnestness of an experienced horrormeister playing with the classic still makes for a substantial midnight stack. I could not agree more. What do we got? It's so funny. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and Simon, who I just read their article from Roger Ebert, it actually comes in fresh. But I hate it when stuff comes in fresh, but it sounds like you're taking a dig, because the headline for Simon's, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, Blackout is nothing new or even essential, but it mostly works anyway thanks to Fessenden and his cast's impressive collaboration. What else we got? Let's see what Bloody Disgusting said. Megan from Bloody Disgusting. Those expecting a more straightforward, conventional werewolf movie won't find it here. Instead, Fessenden offers a veritable, funny, sometimes sluggish, yet poignant slice of life with a violent and bloody horror twist. And actually, that's where I'm going to leave it at, because Megan couldn't have said it any better. This is why I look to other people to give me all the perspective, all the voices, because that is about as... in terms of my view on it, is about as perfect understanding of the film that you can get. So Blackout is available to stream now, gang. Available to stream now. I think you can rent it for like $6 on Fandango or something, so no fucking excuses. I am pissed that I didn't get a chance to see this in the fucking theater, but hey, sometimes shit happens, gang. Blackout, streaming now. Ellis Cinema got a lot of shows around the corner for you, gang, and I am not super stoked. Ellis Cinema, we go.